Yo, how we doing today, man? I'm happy with today. I'm happy with the progress. I think I made good progress today. And it was our biggest winning day on the Express account by a good margin today. Um, it's not going to blow your socks off, right? I'm not out here with the $10,000 day. But we did have a $91 day with a losing trade. So we ended up taking 3 trades. We had one break even, we had one loss, and we had one win. And my new rules, I guess you could say, I like, I'm giving myself around $150 to $200 on the day, and if I take 2 losses, I'm done for the day, right? Because I don't know. And today was a perfect example of not stopping after one loss. But yeah, I don't really want to stop after one loss and risk more because I don't know. Sometimes, that first trade you take um, can lose and then you have a nice setup afterwards. Today, I definitely could have done better. We'll kind of go over that. And I'll show you guys the trades, obviously. But my first trade today, or my idea for the day, I came into the market. If we go right here, I came into the market not really with a clear-cut bias. Reason being, we were delivering from this 1 hour gap right here. We seemed very bullish at the time. We were pretty bullish coming into the morning, right? This is Tuesday. This is right midnight open. We trade down, we hold it, we hold again, and we're delivering up. We had this clear high today, which was kind of the objective for the day, in my opinion. And we also had this 1 hour gap that we could trade into later in the day as well. So that's kind of the bias, was a little bit more bullish rather than bearish. But that being said, I didn't really get anything off open. We just started ripping straight up. Unfortunately, we started ripping straight up. Off open, we had a pretty big move up. So after that pretty big move up off open, I guess you could have caught it by, sweeping out this low right here and getting displacement. I didn't have an entry model here, so I couldn't play longs today. I just couldn't. And we had a clear target here, and we really just ripped and ripped and ripped. We also had news at 10 o'clock that didn't allow me to really trade before right here. At 10 o'clock, we came up and just took out the high. When I look at price action here, I trade inverse fair value gaps, so there was just nothing I could take here at all. So I just had to be patient, right? So at that point now, I want to either play a 15-minute gap to go long, which would be a 15-minute gap, which is any of these. This was the most recent one we put in, and this one becomes important for me. And at this point, I just want to see us retrace to then go higher, right? I want to see us retrace and then go higher. Just like right now, we traded to this 1 hour gap. Any long would be all right, although right now a nice short is kind of playing out. It might not fully play out. It's lunch hour. But we have a 15-minute gap with this 2-minute inversion. And it would be a break-even trade at this point, or you'd be in drawdown if you inverse this 2-minute gap right here. But it would have gone any direction for 30 points for a second. Not sure what this big move was. I wasn't involved when this happened. I'll kind of go over why. Definitely could have been. But this was now an area that I was trying to target because I wanted to see us either go short to this low or I wanted to see us take that low and go higher. So I was on the 1-minute chart. There was no setup here. I would never take this inverse because it's just way too early. There's no structure built. But we did get this 1 minute right here after sweeping out this high here and then this high right here. We get this 1 minute inversion. I got in short here. This was the break-even trade. Got it in short there. Stop like around here. And we didn't go break even too early. We waited here. We put it in a relative equal low with this candle right here, this down close, or this downward candle. We put in relative equal lows. I held back to my entry, held through this, and then when we ran it again, I went break even because I just didn't like the efficiency. Obviously, we went break even. It came back up one more time, went a little bit lower, but never would have hit down here. So I guess the break even worked out today. And I'll show you guys that trade real quick because that was the first one of the day. And yeah, it was pretty good. Good management, in my opinion. Yeah, this is the trade. And we took it with 2 micros. So we got in around here. I was waiting for that 2 minute. I took it on the 2 minute, I guess. And I rushed the entry a little bit. But it had a few seconds till it closed. And it ended up closing. And we were in the trade. And we almost went break even here. A $200 day was just right down there if it would have got to the 601. But it couldn't. And we don't go break even early. We trail our stop a little bit. But we don't go break even because it did not hit the swing low yet. So I hold back through my entry, which is good, right? Something I'm trying to get better at. Hold in the negative a little bit. Just watching it play out. And then I went break even. I moved it away because it was early. I was just waiting for the confirmation. And then when we started running here, and this is when I went break even. So a tiny bit before, but we started going below these lows. And I didn't really want to see this come back up, and I was kind of not really. I just didn't love the trade anymore. For just the sloppy price action. And we had hit this low again, so I was happy with the break even. And then we do end up hitting the actual break even point right here. And I'm fine with having my stop there. I think I end up making like nothing. I end up just getting stopped at break even. So we just stopped for a little bit there, which is fine. I'm happy with how I managed that trade. I don't think that I did anything wrong there. I'm really happy with that trade. And it was just break even, right? Unfortunately, it was just break even. If it would have just came down to the 601 right here, we would have had a $200 day, which again isn't a must-have, but it is something we're looking for. And then at this point, we ended up putting in SMT with ES. I'll kind of pull up ES side by side real quick here. Right here. So we end up having an SMT. And right here. So we end up having SMT. And we were starting to stall. I wanted to see ES run through this fair value gap right here. And NQ to run through this fair value gap right here. And then I would have gone short. We never end up closing below, so there's no setup, unfortunately. This ended up running to the high one more time, so we get rid of the SMT. And this is where my bad trade came in. I shouldn't have taken this one, but I thought it closed below here. We had swept this high here, and then we came down lower. It closed kind of quick, or if I can remember right, it kind of closed where we had the candle here, and I got in. I was ready to get in when it closed. I didn't want to hesitate, and it didn't close below. And let's pull up the video now, so we can take a look at that trade. That one is not one. So we end up getting the. Okay, why do I have? I have a few where I just started and didn't get an entry. Here we go. So this was the trade. I started the video right after I got in. And I wasn't really zoomed in enough to see that it didn't close fully, and then I kind of realized after the fact, and I decided to let it play out. I should have probably just closed it right away, but it didn't look like it couldn't work at all. It didn't look like it was impossible to work, and I was just hoping that maybe I would get the valid setup right after, and I would just get a better fill. So I probably should have just closed it. But I waited for this to get closed back above. So long story short, we got burnt taking a setup that wasn't even technically valid. And again, that's the margin sometimes in trading. That small detail can cost you. So I ended up closing it before hitting full stop loss, which was $81. I ended up closing it for down $60 after the first break even. And at this point, it was annoying, but I was like, I made a mistake, right? I didn't plan on it, but it just wasn't a good trade. Looking back, like, this is just not a good trade because it didn't close below. It's not an inversion, so it wasn't a good trade, right? Frustrated, but I wasn't gonna let it ruin me. We end up having another SMT, so this was even better right here, and this is where I took my winner for the day. And I'll just pull up the video here. We get in, and when we inversed this gap right here, we had a nice 30-second. I really like this because I really did think we were going to go lower. I really, really did think we were going to go lower. We just had too many low resistance liquidity built up here, right through here, in my opinion. And this was the SMT. And then we end up just running lower. So I'm going to get rid of this chart now that I showed you guys the SMTs. It was really nice. But we had the low resistance liquidity, and I wanted to see this get ran, and with the SMT, I thought it was very, very much valid. Also, we had just been going up all day. We had not taken out any lows yet. We've literally been printing straight up, so we haven't taken out a significant low one time. Another confluence is for the short. So if we pull up that video, here. This was the beautiful short that we ended up taking, right? So we end up getting in. Let's see when we get in. I'll kind of walk you guys through what my thought process was. Again, I'm down $60 at this point. So I was just going with 2 micros. I'm glad I didn't go in with more. I could have technically, because I was actually not risking much of anything. So I could have gotten in with 3 or 4 and still been able to risk. But more than happy to just get in with small risk. Was really ready to get in there, but it didn't close, and I noticed this 30-second gap. I think that's where I ended up getting in. We get in on the 30-second inverse right here. It closed, and we got in on the 30-second inverse. Very, very good entry. Very good entry. Really happy with it. And right here, if I would have just held for these lows, I actually would have gotten $265, which is exactly what I would need for the $200 day. But I'll kind of walk you guys through what happened, right? And I'll walk you guys through kind of my thought process through everything. So I have the trade. I'm risking $48. So I really could have gone in double the size, still risking $100. I mean, this could have been a monster trade for us today, with more sizing. But I like the 2 micros. I think I'm going to stick with 2 micros for a while, as long as the volatility is enough to where I can realistically get 50 points on a great trade. But 2 micros is fine, right? I don't really have to suffer any massive loss. Like right now I'm risking $35, and I can wait for it to hit the break-even point. And yeah, right now it's looking great. And I'll kind of speed this up here. I go break-even when we hit this low, because I also had such a good entry. But I was wondering, should I just leave my stop at $35, because it just was such a good stop loss. I normally don't get such a tight stop loss. But I didn't mind going break even. I don't know if I move it back up or not. I do end up moving it back up just because I wanted to see us make an order block here before going break even. But going break even there wouldn't be bad in my opinion. We had a fair value gap. We hit the low. We really shouldn't go back higher. But I just wanted to make sure this move didn't get me out. So I was just letting it play out. We end up running below these lows, so I do go break even now. And at this point, this is where I start, getting unsure of if I'm going to be able to hold all the way down to this low. And one thing I wanted to do was just take my first partial at 30 plus points, just because that would guarantee that I have a break-even day, which is focusing on the money. But I'm happy with how I managed my second contract. Because it was a pretty rough trade for me. But I think that this contract coming off is definitely not ideal. If I took profit this low, I'm fine with that. So we gave up a few points right here. Because I don't think partially on this trade is wrong at all. That's the thing I want to be clear is, like, I had in my head that if I could have just held all the way down here, I would have had a $200 day, which in theory is really nice, right? It would be nice to have the $200 day. But thinking about it logically, that was a little bit greedy. So if I was trading without worrying about a $200 day, if I wasn't on a prop firm, I would 100% take profit at this low here. So I decided to take a profit where, like, at 30 points, just so I could not have to worry about an extra 5 points. But then I could have my stop just chilling at break even. And I would end up, not losing on the day if it didn't come up. And then I just moved this take profit down for $200 just in case it wanted to flush through. I could maybe get it. But I didn't want to get super, super focused on the $200 day and not really trade well. Because, again, this would be a nice spot, the partial. It was like 40 points. So that's a good spot to partial because we don't know, right? This fair value could hold. We could just be in a low resistance, building low resistance liquidity and come back up. Again, I don't control the markets. I have no control over what the market does. So I don't need to be holding for, always holding for 50, 60, 70 point runs. I need to just be focused on what I can do. I was going to then keep trailing my stop if we inversed this gap right here, but then this is where the torture of this trade started coming in. We just started going up and up and up and sideways and down and sideways and then down. And I end up, this blue line right here actually ends up being a 1 hour fair value gap. And I'll kind of show you guys that. So right here, I'm on the 1 hour chart. I switched to the 1 hour chart right here. And I noticed that there's a 1 hour fair value gap right under the low. So that became something I was, interested in and trying to keep track of. And this 5 minute, I was also trying to keep track of this 5 minute. I wanted to see this 5 minute become an order block here. And I was definitely kind of frustrated in this trade because this was 10 minutes of just move down, and this was the 1 hour fair value gap right here. I'll show you guys after this trade plays out. But I was kind of frustrated because the 5 minute was just, I needed to close below this line right here on the 5 minute to be an order block. But we would come down and look like we were going to start running our profit, and then we'd come up. And then we'd come down again, and we just come up again. So the market was really frustrating me. I'm glad I didn't suffocate my stop loss and drag it to this high too early. I'm just glad I just left it at break even. But this trade was definitely hard for me mentally because I don't really hold my trades this well normally. So I kept just kind of seeing whenever we put this order block in, I was going to trail my stop, but we never end up doing it. So I leave my stop. And then I'm just hoping for it here. And it just struggles and struggles and struggles. And I just wanted a 1 minute fair value gap to hold, or the inverse this gap right here over to the left, just to have more confirmation. And we end up just not doing it, so I end up moving my stop again because I'm just waiting to trail it because I don't have a problem trailing it. I just need to trail it with proper context, right? And it just could not inverse this 1 minute to save its life like efficiently. So we're chopping again, and I'm again just waiting, right? That's all I can do. So then it ends up running. At this point, I decided to just leave my stop loss at this high here because I was hoping that it was still generating highs and it wouldn't come back up there. Maybe a little bit early, but I was kind of over the trade at this point. And I didn't really want to, I don't know, it was getting frustrating. But I waited here. I think in my opinion, this is a good spot to trail to because of, we rebalanced to the 5 minute. We really shouldn't come back up to it. And then we end up getting the close below. So I end up trailing my stop to this high here, lock in $50. Which is fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But then when we got into the 1 hour fair value gap, because of how price action had been running through here, it didn't look very efficient. I end up closing the trade at the 1 hour gap. So you'll see that in a second. And watch how I do it. But again, I think I did very well. I kind of made the decision last second to close it here. So I ended up closing it a little bit higher up right there. But I'm very happy that I held and I waited for that gap. I think that that's a more than valid take profit. If we look at the charts, I think that's a more than valid take profit, right? We had the 1 hour gap right here. We'll kind of drag this out here. We had the 1 hour gap right here. So I'm happy with that, right? I should have held for this low here. But in my head, I was telling myself, okay, the $200 day was down here, which again, it would have hit, but that felt really greedy. This is where I know price could reverse. So when I saw it tap the 1 hour, I knew I wasn't going to be able to get the $200 day. So I kind of just decided that taking profits at, we got in at 80. Taking profits at 46 points was more than enough for me. I was very, very happy with that, especially after the loss that we shouldn't have taken. We definitely shouldn't have taken the loss, but it happens, right? We took a bad trade. We have to own it, and we get in a great trade. The SMT, the inverse, and we hold well. We don't just suffocate the stop too quickly, and we hold through all of this, and this was hard to do. So I'm very, very happy with how I managed my position. I'm very happy holding through this. I'm very happy with the growth I experienced today, and I think I did well. I think I made a step forwards. Obviously, I can do things better, but I think I made a great step forward today. And I don't even know if this could have been news because this move was pretty drastic and pretty quick. But as soon as we hit the 1 hour gap, we actually started trading up, which it would never really kept going too high, but it definitely been scary to see. And then this massive candle comes out of nowhere. So we would have ended up actually having our $200 day pretty quickly, or we would at least had another, we would at least made another 18 points. So in the grand scheme, right, another $36 would have been made if we took profit this low. Or if we just held the whole trade to this low, we would have the $200 day. So looking at that, right, so it's always easy to look back and see what you could have done. But again, let's say I didn't lose, I hadn't lost on this trade before, or the trade earlier. Let's see what would have happened here if we got in short there. We had our stop. We could have got in with the 2. We would take profit here for 37 points, and then we'd take profit here for 62 points. So we would have actually had our $200 day anyways, taking one off here and then one off down here. So we would have had the $200 day if we didn't take this first loss, and we would have got it just trading normally. So the same way that I executed, minus getting out here, I could have held and got out here. I would have actually made the $200 day. So stuff to learn from, stuff to get better from, but a big improvement with holding my trade. I mean, we held this trade for 28 minutes, which is pretty good. I mean, it was chopping. We held, we didn't panic, we didn't suffocate with our stop loss too early. So I'm really, really happy with it. I'm happy with spotting the trade. Yeah, great day overall in my books. And we still have room to improve, so it's perfect, right? It's always good to have room to improve, right? You know, if you're trading perfectly and you're not making money, you know, then you can't fix anything about that. But if you're making mistakes and you can still improve them, you have another chance each and every day. So I try never to get upset with myself, right? Because that's not going to do anything for me. I try and just recognize it, come on here, make these videos, reflect on it, and yeah. And again, today overall was actually a pretty good day. I'm pretty excited with today, and again, man, it's my biggest winning day on this account. Nothing crazy, nothing special. But we've been doing well, man. I think that when I'm really focused, I'm really waiting for quality. I do well. Even if this thing inversed, this setup right here is just so much better just because we had the SMT and we had more low resistance liquidity now built up and a better break-even point. So it does stink to take this first loss because it definitely changed how I manage this position. But regardless, man, we're not going to sit here and be upset with it. We still hit a great trade. And again, like I said, a more than valid take profit. If we look at this right here, this was a more than valid take profit. It was a 1 hour fair value gap right here. So you can always reverse out of the 1 hour, right? It doesn't have to sweep out all the 15 minutes, even though it would be nice to get to this 15 minute, which is what I wanted to see. And the 30 minute, you could just as easily sweep this low and go higher. So I made a decision, and I'm not upset with it. I don't think it was, impulsive. If I was being impulsive, I would have closed the trade for the same amount of points right here. But I waited for a logical area to get out, and I did. So today was overall good. I'm happy with today, and we keep working, and we keep getting better. But yeah, I really think that I'm improving a lot these last little bit. I'm really happy with my trading. And again, man, it's just small things getting cleaned up here and there, and it's going to be great. This trade was good today. Unfortunately, we got caught up in that silly trade right there. But we didn't do anything dumb. We didn't start over leveraging. We didn't start panicking. This trade that we took, another reason why I really like this trade is because I really didn't have to risk much. We just had the risk. We even got in at the 80, man. We got like a really good fill. So we didn't have, even risking this high, we were risking 14 points. It was a fantastic stop loss. And this would have been just killer to get all the way down here. 64 points. But we didn't. But we did better than we did before. So as long as we're making improvement, that's all that matters, right? We're getting better each and every day, right? We wouldn't have been able to do this the first day on the Express account. I wouldn't have been able to handle taking this trade and sitting through it. And I wouldn't have been able to think logically after the loss, I probably would have I could have closed it for, $70 and then been break even on the day, right? So we ended up making $91, which is big. Because right here, when the candles were printing right here live time, and I was up, you only need to be up 20, you only need to be up like 15 points to be up $60. So right here was like 15, 16 points. When it was hovering around here, I really did think about just closing the trade and being even on the day. And I said, no, I need to get better at trading. So I took my profit around here to be break even on the day, and then let the last runner play out and focus on that one. And I think that was good because it let me stop being so. It took all the emotion away from the trade as soon as I knew that I couldn't lose on the day. Which again, ideally, I hold both take profits. But the improvement and the progress is good, right? I'm getting more and more used to it every time, baby steps, and again, not perfect day, but good. So yeah, that's all I got, man. We have Wednesday tomorrow, so this week can be pretty good. And hopefully you guys had a great day. Well, let me know what you guys took. Market for the most part today was pretty annoying, pretty tricky, but what did you guys see? Did you guys take anything? Did you win? Let me know. And I appreciate you guys all watching these videos every single day. It does mean a lot, and it keeps me motivated. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Peace.